You're watching the Hyperloops. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel to show your support. Thank you and enjoy the video.
Hey everybody, the Hyperloops are back. We're trying to give you guys a good podcast. Let's see how this thing goes. I'm honestly sarcastic, and with us here is the ever hairy fuzzball NJ Cuenca. How you doing, baby?
I'm alright. I'm hairy and hot. I got an AC finally in my room. You could probably see it. It's duct tape and cardboard because we don't have the flaps. Let's go.
Oh man, oh I love that. I love that. I remember when I used to have those too. It was so good. I sincerely suggest when we all get houses and stuff to try to get central air. It is the greatest thing in life, and I have it, and it's beautiful.
It sounds amazing. I definitely want central air.
Yeah. One day I'd like to be able to have the rooms in different temperatures with zones, but whatever. We'll take what we can get. But it's been a couple weeks since we've done the last one, guys. What we're going to talk about today is, some of the tournament stuff that went down, the decks we're seeing, meta, what events are kind of coming up, small time, and some Patreon adjustments. We don't have everything set in stone yet, but we do have some of it. So I guess the first thing we should start off with is the June Artificery League. So this was pre-transformations. So obviously none of our quote-unquote broken stuff. Do you want to give us the rundown on the decks from that?
Sure. I made top 8, and I lost to Thrawn Praetorian Guard, Snoke's Praetorian Guard, and top 4 ended up looking like, in third place was Malicious Moloch with Afra, Sentinel Messenger, Elite EDT.
The Imperial Death Trooper.
Yep, Imperial Death Trooper, and Poem with Thrawn Praetorian. And in second place was Wooit with Elor, Bale, Annie, LTP, Long Term Plan, Mill. Shout out to Eric. And in first place was Knight with Palpwato, beating out Mill, which is a great thing for a Palpwato deck, I think.
Yeah, that's actually really surprising. And it's 2-0, so Mill didn't win either of those games. It's like, oh, how messed up was that? But, poor Wooit. It's always second place.
No, he's won. He's won.
He's won. I know.
IRL events, which are I think better. TBH.
That's fair. That's fair. But I got to give him shit.
Do you beat him at disc golf when you guys played?
No, he won. So I went for a win instead of a tie. I didn't want to be a co-champion, so I went for a long putt and went hard and missed. And then it slid way past. So I was like, all right, whatever. I got a second shot at it. Missed that one too. So second place for me. But yeah, I lost to Wooit actually in top 16 this one. But overall, that's kind of interesting. Like, we didn't see any Raylos there. This was with the Gandor Holocron. So, Trandoshans was dead, or expected to be dead. Droids was all jacked up. I played Droids and lost to Mill. That was sad for me.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts? Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to mention the rest of the top 8, besides myself playing Kylo Dooku Rule of 2, was Hippo with Loose Imperial Death Trooper, and Agent Zion with Plowox, and Rebel Trader with E4 Lum Grievous Sentinel Messenger. Is a cool blast from the past. I thought that format was great. I liked. It felt very much like you were interacting with dice all the time, and that was how things were getting done with damage. I liked Kylo because it was in a good position to hate on Raylo and Palp as well. And no Raylo at all was there. There was a Raylo in 9th, so top 16 there was one Raylo, but I mean that's just like what the deck that people picked. I don't really know what it looked like in the Artie League. So yeah, I don't know. Those are my thoughts. Format doesn't exist anymore. RIP. It was a great format. I liked it, and congrats to Knight for winning.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to kind of examine this a bit, just because how upset people seem with transformations. But I'm pretty sure transformations is here to stay. And unless we get some crazy, I don't know, adjustments coming out of a new Gandor Chronicle, Holochronicle or whatever, I just kind of don't see that really changing much.
Yeah, I will say one thing that I personally believe. If you look, I would think if you look at these top four decks, and this will be a good segue into the Entourage, the Invitational.
Hmm.
I believe that's uh, I think a very different meta for sure. I think most likely these top four decks are unplayable in the current format. And I that was when we were talking in the league chat, and my argument for it being like transformations being kind of unhealthy, and I know we're gonna get to that later, but my since we're about to talk about the entourage decks, is that the power creep is just so high. It's insane, and it was like what, 10 cards that in the format that are different, like or, I don't know, just not that many, like 10 to 15, 10 to 20 cards.
Yeah, but these aren't cards that go in the deck, and I think that's where the big differential is. This is to our lineups and
Right.
to like the plots. So it makes sense that like the format kind of shifts, but most of it's predicated around being able to properly deal with pretty much transformations Anakin with
Mm-hmm.
Fateful Companion, because like you can't realistically run like an Ewok or a Youngling if you're in fear of that being in the meta as a highly touted deck. But
Right.
I think it's probably not as high as it's kind of anticipated. It's tough to gauge because these are all small sample sizes, right? Like in the Artificery Top Cut, people are trying to like mind game each other and pick stuff what we think we're going to see from opponents, and the same applied even in the EG Invitational. What am I expecting to see? Okay, can I just hate that out properly instead of like playing one of those same decks? Are and I you played Magic, so you definitely remember Ravager versus Anti-Ravager.
Yep.
And for anyone that
I
didn't know,
played
go ahead.
I played in that block constructed. So for people who don't know, block constructed is 3 sets, and there was one deck that just happened to be just the best by far. And I don't know what the analogy would be, but like for those who don't play, it's going to be hard. But in that format, artifacts like artifact hate was a main deck thing that you had to have. You had to have like one green destroy an artifact was like an auto 4 of.
Yeah.
It's just
So the so the way we would say it here is like, imagine if the best deck in the format was just a bunch of supports. So every deck that wasn't a support based deck had like 6 cards to kill supports.
here. I got a
That was
great
the breakdown.
analogy here because we were talking about this,
Yeah.
right? And as we'll get into the top four results, is that the Nick the Bug one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know we're not talking about lists particularly, but I think the analogy here is like artifact hate, like shock tactic being like one of the best cards in the format, and playing Jabba to get it consistently is sort of like the kind of format we're playing right now. Where shock tactics, for those who don't know, is a 2 cost event ambush. Remove a non-unique die and all copies of it from each of your opponent's pools. It's a yellow event, and Jabba can get it, and Nick the Bug one. And I suspect that had a big thing to do with it. I don't know what you think about that, Joe.
I got blown out in one of the rounds by that from him. So so yeah, it makes realistic sense. It gives him some time, and in general, the it's very usable as just a remove a non-unique die. Like sure, you can't hit every character with it, but there is some play pretty much against anything, the supports and whatnot. So there's usually an option somewhere, even if it's just you're not playing against 5 FC. But I
Mm-hmm.
think he actually only ran one of them or something like that. So it was just like he wanted that one round to get the time that he needed, and he did
Right.
that. So top four there. The decks that fell out at the top four were Elite CM Anakin. So this is not ping damage Anakin. Elite Fives and Faithful Companions. That's what I played. And then Elite Jabba, Elite Watt, and Jawa. That was played by Running Onion. Um, then in the finals, we had Han, Transformations Anakin, Faithful Companions versus Elite Jabba, Watt, Sentinel Messenger. So, Jabba won, spoiler alert. And this kind of just brings it back to like the wicked old school days where it's like, wait a second, wasn't this a deck from like years ago or a year plus? Like why was this playable? And it's just that you have big health. So people are being aggressive. You can take that, play some supports, smush a guy down, and then now their damage falls off so hard that a couple pieces are removable, and their whole round is wiped.
Right. Yeah, I'd be curious. I don't know if Running Onion was playing two of the shock tactics, but I suspect he was at least playing one.
I'd assume he was playing at least one. He might have had two, but the dilemma was his loss was to Han Anakin.
Right.
So shock tactics wasn't actually viable there at all.
Right, and I think Han Anakin's it seems like it's in a good place in the meta. As you dodge shock tactics, and you're able to do a good amount of damage to pressure fives, and both your characters have Anakin has 10 health, which is more like 8 health if you're trying to kill him by round 2, and Ehan's like beefy, so killing him quickly is going to be tough. So you and Anakin seems to have a really good chance to win the role, actually. So you take your opponent's shield. Anakin has 12 health. Han has 12 health. Pretty good. He's pretty good.
The only dilemma there was that the damage he was doing was kind of irrelevant, and if you're spending to do damage, your board state's not increasing. So if you
Right.
doesn't kill a guy round 1, the guy can get any sort of usage round 2. We're talking like you finally killed it, you flipped, you lost your dice on the flip. Now what's happening? And it's like, okay, well, if they go and they finish your guy off, who's taking some pings, or they go and kill Han, you've potentially killed off half of your deck. I think most of the Han anti decks I was seeing were kind of split between what they were like spotting for blue or yellow wise, like easy picking, entangles. If you were on mean streets, which I believe they were, it just kind of it messes with a lot of your options. Blues, I think that was Vika versus Nick the Bug in the finals, by the way, and Vika was on Han Annie, and he had a lot of like, I would say like spot blue and spot yellow stuff. He had like Neiman Mastery. So
How many Vader's Fists was Vika playing?
0.
Okay.
Nick the Bug also played 0.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he could have actually played it. Although, wow, yeah, him not playing any is like indication of the format, right? Like,
yeah, they wanted DM for Padme Han. Padme Han was getting hated out just by like people packing DMs and playing Yellow Villain.
Yeah, which I think is an interesting thing that you bring up about having to choose which of those really, really good cards you can play in your deck.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing a rainbow deck having to make that choice, and in the future being like, okay, this deck's out of the format, maybe now I can play Vader's Fist again. Realistically, you might not need it. It didn't seem like he needed it, so rip Vader's Fist.
Yeah, that deck was more like Water Abuse. The get double usage on red dice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah,
so I don't know. Did you want to talk about the Thursday decks?
Yeah. So we can go past it. So the thing there is like, it based on that, which was realistically only like a last weekend, because today is Saturday when we're recording. You would have thought, with the number of concerns with NEFC and Han Padmes and 5s FCs, that there would have been a ton more of it. But they just weren't, and they weren't allowed to get as far as you anticipated because people had the counters going. As per usual, in a brand new format, you're going to see a ton of aggression. And then you're slowly going to see control start to pop back up because they know what they need to run in order to effectively deal with what's coming out. The shock tactic, you want DM, whatever other options that just make a bunch of realistic sense, including like changing your die package, whether you need some additional ramp because there's disrupt flying around or what. And that one, also hand control because you wanted to make sure you weren't going to get like jump to light speeded off a Han Padme or any of the Mean Street decks. So it's just like it makes perfect sense that we now are seeing like the control decks come back. But yeah, so going to the Thursday event this week, there was no undefeated. There's no top cut. It's just pure Swiss. But the 5 lists starting from the bottom, there were. That's a little weird. I didn't see that. So there were 1, 2, 3. There were 3 decks that actually were 3 characters. There was Elite 5s, Cannon, Satine, and then Fateful Companion. Elite 5s, Elite Satine, Little Annie. Wait a second. No, that can't be right. That has to be regular Satine. I don't know why. Someone wrote Elite, and that's a little weird. But yeah, that should be E5, Satine, Anakin, and Faithful Companions. Then One Love actually got in there with Dengar, Ventress, Greedo. So that's 3 die, and then closing, which gets cheaper once for each of the bounty hunters. And I really just don't want to think about the math on that one. So I'm just gonna hope that deck was legal.
I mean, Dengar has like an extra die, so sort of 1 damage every turn.
Yeah, but it also just seems kind of crazy, right? Like you're just like, I played 3 die and it wasn't an Afro deck.
Right. Yeah. I mean, closing, man.
Closing's
really good. It is scary. I really hate playing. That's my like second unfun thing. Like, it's so annoying. Like, I have to give you a resource, or like the play around is like so brutal sometimes. And if you're playing a 2-character deck, like, you're just hoping you're fast enough.
Yeah, I actually played against Agent of Zion, and like I didn't take into consideration how fast that would come down. So I did like a Bendu, and then I did a Satine, and I played like a well connected. So his closing hit my 3PO before my 3PO ever got to activate, and then I never activated the entire game. I just chose not to. He played Dead or Alive, and then closing, and I was like, yeah, you can keep this 3PO. I don't care about him. And I played the whole game without him. I was like, I don't need it.
You win? Did you
yeah,
win
I won. I was playing Rescue Han. It was a 1-die 3P. I was like, whatever. But anyways, so going back up the list, there was actually Qui-Gon, Yoda, and then United We Stand. But I think it was just the zero cost United. And then Gandork actually got first on tiebreakers playing Poe 3 Han 5. So piloting, baby. It's here. It's sexy.
Yeah, Han seems like a big upgrade to like Sabine. It's so comically.
Dude, I played that Sabine. It was no bueno.
What was it? I played like Sabine, and I also played like what was it? AR Armor Reinforcements with Satine, which I think might have actually ended up being I liking it more, but still, man, like getting Han, so good, so much better.
Yeah.
You have 2 characters that can close.
2 characters that hit hard. You get the extra resources off Han, which you needed, and you have the threat of the crazy 2 disrupt. Like, thank you. May I have another?
Yeah, that disrupt is so dirty sometimes.
That disrupt's beyond dirty. It's actually his best side on the die, which is sad. Like, value-wise, that's better than every other side.
All right, so do you want to talk about some more? I mean, this is a regular event on Thursdays. Like, I don't know exactly what the format is for the Invitational, like, that they have. They have one every month, right?
No, it's I think it's every few months.
Every few months. Okay.
Yeah, so like if you win one of the weeklies, maybe get second. I don't think it's the second though. Then they start to fill it up with that, and then like patrons, it might be first and second, and then like the fill in with whatever patrons for that. But it's you pretty much start straight from the top cut. It's best of 3, and you play through from there. So there is a lot of sometimes mind gaining, like, oh, who am I playing against? Oh, they always play this deck. Let me play this other deck that beats them, and then like has a shot at winning or something along those lines. But in general, it's kind of nice to see that these there's other decks kind of popping out. Like I think people really tried some different stuff this recent week in the EG event. So maybe that's why we're not seeing Annie FC up there. But I'm pretty sure some of it was being played. But like if you're playing against 3-wide, it's much harder to have those things just be relevant. You're spending your money on increasing your damage, and you're gonna push in damage. That's cool, but then like what happens after? Like if they successfully kill your guy, and now pieces of removal are just gonna wipe out entire rounds, or big portions of it because you couldn't set up a board state, and it's kind of like the normal cycle that we're seeing. But it's nice to see that other decks are available. How they put up the do in the test, I guess, is a whole other question. But we're not just seeing week after week, Annie 5s or Han Padme just like crush things. So overall,
do you think that's a product of the meta being healthy, or do you think that's a product of people just not try-harding so much because it's Thursday and they just want to try different stuff. What do you think about that?
So I think it's too early to talk about like healthy, I guess. I'd say it's healthy enough from what we're seeing, and it's that it's not just I can only play this one deck. This one deck is the best deck ever. This isn't just like the Snoke deck. Like this is clearly tier 0 and everything else is tier 1.5. Its stuff's close enough. There's enough kind of hate cards to deal with stuff. There's like counterpoints. Like, okay, Andy can hit me with all this stuff, but if I smash him back with damage, him hitting me first is irrelevant. Now we have this firefight of a 1v1 because we both traded off or something. So like I think we're seeing like the minor adjustments. Like we're definitely seeing where people aren't playing not necessarily like the best of items that they could be playing. You feel like you can do well enough with whatever list, like they're playing that list. So it's too tough to kind of tell, health from that because the snapshot's just too tiny. But the fact that we're seeing other stuff and there's probably still people playing those super strong decks, but not beating people that just have better skill sets, is kind of it's relevant because like if someone was questionable but playing chopper droids back in the day, they had pretty good odds of just beating you, right? Like,
Right.
And like nothing you could do about it. You had no choice in the matter. So I think that's it's important to see that, and it's like healthy enough for the current state we're in.
Right, and I think that there are the hate cards, and I think I was probably a bit too harsh when I was in the Artificery Discord about having sort of gut reactions to certain cards that I don't like, and it seems that there's enough variety of things and to explore that I guess we could have like a month with all these really high-powered toys.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what you think about transformations, all the cards from transformations. Do you think that? Do you think I don't know how powerful do you think they are comparatively to old cards? Like how much more? How restrictive is it? Like we're just talking about Han 5 and how much way better he is than like Sabine.
Everybody else in that point range, yeah.
Yeah. So
it's real good. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I mean, I guess it's not really a question you need to answer, but it's just that's just like a point of mine where I've never been a part of a format where you had such an insane power creep with such a small set of cards.
Yeah.
Like if you look at all these lineups, I think they all have. If you look at the top 5, they all have a new card in them.
Oh yeah,
So
like everyone and their moms is like playing transformation stuff. We haven't got to the stage where people are like, I'm just gonna play old stuff again. Outside of the Invitational, where Jabba Watt Sentinel won.
yeah, and that's kind of cool. It's cool to see that. It's cool to see that. Honestly, I do like that. I think a lot of people are more inclined to play new cards too with the new cards. So just saying, a random Thursday with all new cards and in the lineups, and that's fine. And I know that also that there were one of the things that I do find kind of annoying is that there weren't any new. We really did we got new characters, but we didn't really get new events. We didn't get new supports that were like playable, new upgrades. So I find that a little annoying.
Yeah. Well,
just a card.
That's because print and play. So like they don't want you to be able to put anything in the deck. So like because then if you printed or people like printed shitty paper slips or whatever, like you get like the whole cheating concept. Oh, this is thicker, this is thinner. Like you could like be more inclined to have these float up to the top of the deck because there's a paper in here. Or you got some like remember the old electroshock like card promos they gave us that were just thick as hell in comparison. Yeah, it's like that.
Yo, that art is sick though.
The old shock thick one.
Yeah, well, the R2D2 getting shocked is so good.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I mean, we're just like having talking points, and also while you were saying about the Entourage Gaming Invitational, like if any of you guys that are involved in that, just let us know about what that structure is exactly, because we're not 100% sure. Like if you listen to this on YouTube or if you just want to like on our website, just like detail it out and we can add it. We did want to promo both everything Entourage Gaming is doing and also Artificery, because the Artificery League has been fantastic. Aside from formats, it's been run really, really tight. the playoffs are super fun. When I played, I didn't. Those games are all really really good. I really had a lot of really great games. And EG doing a weekly and the invitational, also awesome stuff from the community. And if you want to get involved, yeah, just reach out to those different channels. And definitely, with coronavirus, maybe coming back, who knows, in certain areas, and probably kind of bad in certain areas. Like you're gonna have plenty of time to play online, and yeah, get involved in the community. The community's still awesome, and I'm having a great time. I was worried. We were just talking about this off the podcast, but Artificery has this. If you play one game a week, you'll get an extra bonus point because they want people to keep stay involved and not just play like the last 2 days, play all their games, right? That way, people can play, and the tournament, the league just runs better that way. And I was worried that it's the second, and I won't get the point. So thankfully, it's not like that. It's until the next Sunday, so you have actually 9 days to get your point in. So if you haven't signed up for that, consider signing up for it, because if you get your game in, you'll still get the extra point. And I love playing in Top Cuts. It's super fun. That's I did not do well in this last last Artificery League. It was pretty embarrassing. I just tried different things. It's just none of them were good. Just couldn't even find one deck that the ones that I made were just these are all trash. I'm like, okay, great.
Oh,
I lost to Qui-Gon Yoda united with an Anakin 5 stack, and I was just like, well, I don't know what's going on here. And I think that deck actually just is an okay choice in the metagame, just because it's hard for Anakin to just bust through all those shields. So.
Wait, you were playing Anakin 5s?
Yeah.
Wait, Transformations Anakin or CM Annie?
Transformations Anakin.
Oh, so you just gave up the other 2 points?
No, it was Transformation 5. It was one die Anakin with
the Hoth Trooper.
The Hoth Trooper.
Oh, that deck's bad. It was funny, but it's terrible. That list is awful.
Is it bad? Okay.
It's really bad.
You told me it was good, so I played it.
No, I told you the guy played it and got second place at EG the first week it came out.
I don't understand how the deck can be that bad. It's got good cards in it, right?
No, the problem is we play. I
think the problem is that 5 just gets blown up and your deck sucks. That's the big problem.
Yeah, either guy if 5 is done, then you're doing 4 damage, and as soon as you flip, you're not doing anything anymore. You have your 1 Vader die, and that's it.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a really awkward deck to build. I found myself just being I don't understand how you do anything after 5 dies. So not great. Then I played some Luke. People who read the Hyperloops, Luke, Lando, Rescue Han Solo decks. Super cool, but I did not get the memo about how everyone just is playing DM again. So
yeah,
a real bad, a real unfun. Every matchup, I played 3 matches and I all played DM decks. How bad is this? What's going on?
It's because Han Padme. What happened is
everyone
hated playing against that, and it was just a ton of it. So it was well, I'm just gonna pack DM, and you're just oh, so you could not be support based and be okay.
Right.
Unless you just had a high health pool. So you're oh, I'm gonna do this, and then you just get wrecked, and you're oh, damn.
Yeah, that deck is just really also inconsistent because you have to the rescuing Han Solo is brutal. If there's certain hands where you just draw them, you mulligan, you're just can't win the game anymore. That's great. I can't fight you. I mean, maybe if they weren't playing DM, I could fight them fair, but me drawing badly and getting DM if I had a bad draw was just never gonna win.
I've been playing Rescue Han. But I've been playing with droids, so I just put a bunch of stuff on the table and sure, you DM one and I move on. But the thing I found with it is that the people that try to speed into Han are the ones that get screwed up with hands, right? If a discard can hit you, you'll be jacked up. You can't find the other one, you lose the game because you're reliant on Han. So if you just make it so that the deck operates without him, and then okay, you get to round 3 and then you hit it, or you hit round 4, you have that one guy left with little health and you hit it finally. That extra infusion of health gives you the time to finish off whatever else is going on if you fell behind. So
right.
Be able to win without it, and then have that as the backup 12 health.
Yeah, and my deck wasn't all in on it. It was built to try to get it because what's the point? It wasn't. It was not all in on it. It was just it had good cards. I had to play I played a bunch of good cards. Then I played against DM decks, and I got my sick little like round one escape craft with Luke. Like, let me get my 3 resources.
Oh
Let's
yeah, yeah,
go.
that's not.
And then I get that shit DM, and I'm like, God damn it! Like,
Yeah, they're not letting you do that, bro. Like, just
yeah.
not happening.
I'm just like, all right, well, I mean, now I can try to do some damage and do some damage with Luke, do some damage with Han and not Han, Lando. It just didn't work out, but we'll keep on keeping on.
Yeah. Actually, I like trying Hera there over Luke. I want flanked by wingmen and access to stuff like BB-8 and covert missions. So I think from there that deck might be capable. Plus, you just need focus, right? You just want the money. But that's for another time.
Yeah.
So I guess past that, go ahead.
No, I was just to say, do you have any? Let's just say I think we kind of covered everything. Oh yeah, I guess. Do you think Faithful should get nerfed?
I don't think it has to be nerfed. Like if it got taken out, I could understand. And like I guess I just want to make like that designation where it's like I don't believe it's broken enough where it's like this must be banned. But I know at the same time like it causes or it has like a ripple effect of issues, right? Like it's hard to play a guy with like 6 health or 8 health when you have that concern of, oh, I just let their guy flip and now I'm in this like problem state because of, whatever deck I'm trying to play. I can't play a Youngling or Plowalks because, an Annie plus an FC, and I'm just like, well, thanks guys, I gave them 5 extra health and this guy's really annoying. So like I understand that concept, but like that transformations opened up the ability to have aggressive or really aggressive 2-wide decks again. And it's something we haven't seen in a long time. And the reason we haven't seen it in a long time is because people complain immediately. This feels bad. And it's like,
well, last format, if you look at those lineups, there in the top 4, there were 3 2-wide decks, and the third one was was it?
It was 2 2-wide decks. And
2 2-wide decks,
and they're technically very slow decks.
I mean, they're slow-ish.
Palpwado's really slow. Like, Palpwado's a control deck more than, like, 2-wide aggro. And then Thrawn Praetorian is also kind of like a control deck. He does whatever, and then, like, Admiral untaps multiple times and kills you. So it was
I guess I see what you mean. They weren't, like, the slowest, but I understand that.
But I'm just saying, like, we haven't seen pure aggro in a real long time. Like in a non-3-wide format. Like Chopper Pure Aggro was like, what the hell is this? Because it was like an everything deck. But we haven't had Pure Aggro because they haven't had the tools to really fight back properly. And now we're seeing Han, who gives mean streets with like access to jump to light speeds and the piloting to be fast enough to do it. And it's like, wow, that feels bad. And it's like, yeah, it feels bad. And you know what? It should feel bad because that's what keeps like the really crazy slow decks out. You're just like, oh, I got this deck that's going to take 30 actions. It's like, no, we're going to do like 6, and then we're going to go to the next round. And you're just like, but I didn't get to play. And like, that's the thing. Like, when post Sabine, post whatever, like, people were like, I hate hyperspace jumps. I hate these retreats. I hate just all of those cards we're getting. Like, all right, they got punched straight off the table. Like, just not allowed to play this. Not allowed to feel bad, guys. And it's like, well, 2-wide aggro was like the king of feeling bad, right? Like in Magic, if you died on turn 4 because the dude did 20 to you, you felt bad. But that was the entire point of that deck.
Yeah, it's a tough balancing act, and I don't know. It's weird. Like hero can't really interact with the hand. Like villain can. You got probes and you've got
counterintelligence, face the enemy.
Counterintelligence. So you do have tools there, but unfortunately, hero doesn't. So, and then if you want to play face the enemy, you can't play DM, and you can't play other cards that you might want to play also. So,
yeah,
I don't know. It's interesting. I'm gonna give it a little more time. I'm gonna stay a little more positive than I have been. Try not to be such a knee jerk reaction man. But I just the big thing I always go back to is like the power level of everything is just so much more jacked up than it was in the previous format. Yeah, and that just feels bad to me.
Yeah,
so I'm just not used to it.
So oddly enough, I don't even know if the power creep is that strong as much as these particular characters. And I wrote a little bit about it for anyone that read it. just opened up the ability. Like, you couldn't play hero pretty much for the most part if you weren't droids or mill, like, at all. Could you think of the last time like a 2 wide or 3 wide deck came out of hero that wasn't one of those? I guess
Uh,
Shadowcaster.
yeah,
But like that got shot as well. And then like so that's the thing. Like hero got a 13, an 11 and a 15 in the 3 different colors. That was quite strong. So like
yeah,
could I see Faithful get hit? Sure. But if stuff can fight with it right now and we can have like a solid 5 or 6 deck options for like the tier 1 and we don't have like a tier 0, then I think it's a fine format. Because it's not that the 1.5s can't win, it's just that like, the odds are a little bit against them. But we'll see what happens. Like if there's enough feel bad situations, like we could see the adjustment where like you can't run mean streets with jump to light speed or Anakin plus FC or 5s with FC or something along those lines. But I think it would take like at least a few more weeks to realistically like come to that determination. Because there's just not enough big events. Like we'd have to see big event after big event just be like brutalized by a fine tuned list.
right. And I think the point about there just being a lot of options that are more powerful now, sort of in theory balances it out. So you have like these really aggressive decks, and you have like you just have a lot of aggressive decks. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, yay, no more mill." So I guess that's the point. Like those people are happy.
Yeah, but it's also still like too. Like you have to choose what you decide. Like there's a lot of people that are really happy that like you don't really see 3 wide rainbow nearly as much right now, and it's like this is why, because there's fast stuff and like the 3 wides have to like readjust and whatnot. And if you kill these decks off too fast, then all you end up with at the end is these slow dirtily 3 wide decks or slow dirtily like Palpado, and it's just like the same old thing that we've had the entire time because these faster decks just got gut checked, and it was like, all right, well, thanks, guys. But anything else you want to add to this part?
I mean, it is. I would say it is. It is using the word fresh. I guess it's fresh.
Yes,
Definitely very fresh.
it is. It is very fresh. We're gonna see a lot of stuff, and I think it'll become like annoying over time. When some stuff's a little too good. So like I could see scalebacks happening with another Gandor Holocron. Through the grapevine, if something was going to go down, it would probably just be like, Anakin on the restricted list so that you can't run him with FC. So then at least it removed that feel bad situation and you can get back access to like younglings or Ewoks and just, prevent this crazy busted out, Anakin deck from just shooting your guys without actually rolling dice. Which makes sense. I think he's still kind of fair in that regard. It is scary. I'm not going to deny that. But it's whatever makes people feel better about it. And then hopefully if stuff was just too busted on the other side at some point, they're like, you know what, let's just take this guy back off the list and scare everybody to shit again.
Right. You don't think fives is too good when you can play with faithful?
I think 5s is really good when you can play with faithful, but you're also kind of limited in what your options are. So it's pretty much 5s FC because you can't run him 1-die. This isn't like the other stuff where you could like Snoke 1-die and you're fine because you just cared about the ability. You have to have it elite, so you're locked in there for 13. And that leftover 17 is kind of brutal. Like, what are you gonna do? Elite Satine in a 7? Are you gonna like just put a 17-point character, or are you gonna put a smaller character and just lose the extra points? There's not a ton you can kind of go with, and 5s does have 9 health. And it can only be damage or resource from the die, so it's not like you get a lot of the control options that you got with a lot of the other stronger cards. You can still interact, you can shock deck, you can easy pick. You still get some of that usability there, and because they did pay a resource to get the other 2 dice, it's kind of like when red decks were playing like Intense Fire or I wouldn't call it Inner Focus, but it's not Inner Focus. Focus Fire, and they were getting like 2 extra damage from their thing. Like you're averaging probably 1 to 2 damage in like a resource or something like that, or like 3 damage, which I think is fair game. All right. Past that, guys, we have some Patreon adjustments coming in. We haven't gone through the exact specifics, but the overall is this. It's that, primarily we make videos for the tournament prep tier. And because of FFG kind of being very particular in like what we announced or kind of launched on our YouTube page, we had to kind of scrub it clear of all the, tabletop simulator or program that shall not be named videos for a long time in order to try to stream and whatnot. So with that, we're kind of like changing things up. What we're going to do is we'll still have our videos going to tournament prep tier. 1 month later from there, we'll be releasing those to our Insight tier, which is the $3 tier. Tournament prep was $10. Sorry, guys. And then 1 month after that, they've been released to Insight. We're actually going to release them publicly. So any of you guys that were looking to kind of catch up on some of the older stuff, see the game, see our thoughts when we're playing, see matches and whatnot, just have the good old Netflix for Destiny. We'll be dropping those on the YouTube pages. There will be other adjustments to come. We just kind of haven't hammered everything out exactly. Trying to figure out how we're gonna to do that stuff, but wanted to let you guys know of what's to come. Anything else you want to add to that portion, Nick?
I mean, we just we want to keep Destiny alive, and everything that we're going to be doing is going to be directed at that goal. We want to keep the Hyperloops alive, obviously. I mean, we've really enjoyed doing this, and hopefully we'll keep it alive long enough, and there'll be enough interest where we'll have our last IRL world when things go back to normal.
Yeah, I hope that they really decide to do that. So we did get a couple questions. It was kind of impromptu, and I was like, "Hey guys, we're gonna do a podcast. You guys got any questions?" And I don't know. All the meme ones are gonna make it because there's only like 3. So Inception wants you to talk about breakfast. What'd you eat for breakfast, Nick?
What do I eat for breakfast?
Yeah.
Well, today I ate oatmeal with banana mashed in with milk, raisins, and cinnamon. And I have that. That's one of my big go-tos. And it's actually quite good. It's pretty healthy, I think. It's got some like sugar, but they're, like some of them are like they're actually all like fast-starting sugars, but I don't care. Like they're all natural.
Yeah.
All raisins. Did I say raisins?
You said
There's raisins in there too. So I have that, and that's I find that to be quite a tasty treat. It's actually quite filling, so it takes me a while to eat it. So I eat slowly, which I have a hard time doing. And one of my other go-tos is if I want to do a little more effort, I'll have 2 eggs over easy with bacon and toast.
Okay, dude, that's scrumptious, and honestly enough, that's kind of almost what I eat exactly. I stick to like water or almond milk on the oatmeal. No raisins for me though, unfortunately. But that's like the go-to. Like I want that low calorie amount so I could have this like hearty lunch later.
I will say there's one thing about the milk that I like that I've learned in the quarantine time. Is that I already knew this before, but like if you get skim milk, it goes bad real fast.
Yeah.
And if you get like 2%, it goes bad like way later. So I usually go like 2% or 1% or whatever like that. But the trick is, since we're trying not to go to the supermarket as much, is that if you get like more expensive like organic milk with like the girl hugging the cow, that you check the expiration date, that milk just lasts like a long time, like a month. It's like crazy. I don't even know how they do it. And yeah, so I put like when I cook the oatmeal, I cook it in water, but then I add like a little splash of milk. A lot. I like milk a lot. Like I'm one of these weird people that drinks like milk with ice. So
what?
yeah, ice milk, bro.
Yo, what?
That's like the Puerto Rico special. You had like there was like this one guy who turned me on to it. It's like hot, and he's like, "Yes, I've got to buy milk with ice." I'm like. And try that out with cookies. Real dope.
Dude, I've frozen milk before. I've never put ice in milk. I can't fathom it. Like, in my mind, you're watering down the milk. Like,
but like, if you have a higher fat concentrated milk, it's like you're drinking a 2% or a skim milk.
Okay, sure. Oh, I still can't deal with that. Oh, man. So yeah, mine today was actually pork chops plus eggs. We did some pork chops yesterday. Mix it up a bit. I've actually eaten pizzas for breakfast, like frozen pizzas. But yeah, no, eggs and bacon, eggs and something, make a wrap. Oatmeal. Those are like the main go-tos, or like a protein shake. But yeah, as much as memey as that was question, that was kind of funny what we went through for that.
He knew he'd get a good answer from me,
yeah.
So
Well, the fact is, we essentially have like a freaking food porn channel because I'm just like, oh, look at my breakfast, and I'm like, pulled pork nachos for breakfast, and it's like, dude, why are you eating this for breakfast? Because I'm an adult and I can choose to do that. Like, I can eat ice cream for breakfast if I want. All right, so Zill said, what would you both want to see in a future Star Wars card game? So I think this is based on FFG was like initially hinting at like the new stuff that was dropping, but there was no Star Wars card game announced. You take
right.
it. What would you
What
want
would
to see?
I want to see? Lots of support from the company who releases it would be excellent. I think that would be the number one thing I'd want from it. I'd also want, so I'd want a good game first, right?
Yeah.
That's the most important. You want good mechanics, good flavor that matches with it, balance, and once you get that, you get good mechanics. You get good support from the company doing it. And then, like, if you get those two things, you're going to get a lot of support from people like us, from the community who love Star Wars and CCGs and TCGs. I would also like. I personally would like small decks. I really enjoy. One of the big pain in the butts about Magic was that you had to like make 60-card decks, and it got real old real fast. But Destiny, you got a smaller deck, and it makes making decks like way better. So I would like to keep the smaller deck sort of model. So those are my top 3 things. I don't know. What do you think, Joe?
You just say you want small decks, and I can't like not laugh. Yeah, I guess like the 2-ofs and stuff is pretty solid because like I come from the Yu-Gi-Oh background in Magic, so it's like 3-ofs and 4-ofs, and it's a pain to kind of collect the super expensive cards in that regard, and that's why I think Destiny, even though it was expensive to get the entire set, it wasn't nearly as expensive as the other games, and like that was a huge thing. So things I would like to see is it never to be run by or supported by FFG or Asmodee. And like I know realistically Destiny was already not supported by FFG or Asmodee, at least the way they got handled it. Yeah, I said it. What you gonna do? Like I'd like to see another company with the IP and like launching a game. Like I think the game was really tight. Obviously slow with like updates and adjustments, so that's fine. Blame it on the mouse, blame it on red tape. That's all fine. But the way they dealt with support, I think, was not very good. And it's kind of an FFG known thing where they just kind of like leave you hanging and then they pick you back up and they're like, oh, watch this new exciting stuff, and you're like, yeah, FFG, they love us, they're gonna take care of us, and then we're left to the wayside again, and that just doesn't like feel good. And this was my first FFG game, so I was like, oh, okay. Like, companies can't be like this and continue to make money, right? Yeah, so 3 years later. And, no bueno, man. No bueno. So I'd hope to see someone else get it, and I would actually really like to see it have an online version. Like, I love jamming some cards in real life. The rolling of the dice, that's cool. But having access to it in my home, on my phone, not having to travel 45 minutes, an hour, there's the whole Corona thing now, would be like huge things for me. Especially as I grow into becoming an adult in my mid-30s and start to work a real job.
I think that's a really good point. I would really love it if there was a digital card game like, pick your whatever Runeterra or Hearthstone. One of those things.
Yeah,
would be. I think that something like that where you had animations of like characters popping in and slicing a lightsaber. I think people really like that a lot.
Yeah. And like, so I guess realistically, because EA tends to have like the online aspect of I forget what the hell it's called, but you guys know what I'm talking about. That's part of the license. It would either have to be like, work with them on getting it, or I would have an expectation as if it was more like a companion app, right? So they've released the real cards, we buy the real cards, and if they have like codes to scan to give us the online digital version, then it would be like, we can play online if we have the real ones, and then it'd be like, all right, well, I'd be fine with that, right? Like, you have to get the physical cards, and then because they're not selling it to you or marketing it to you as a specific online product, they might be able to somehow get around like that license issue. And like, whatever. I don't know the specifics behind that. Not a lawyer, obviously, or working for the company, but that would be my hope is online. Comfort of your home, game whenever you want is just it's really really nice. But any last parting thoughts on Star Wars card games? What you'd like to see?
No. Is that the last question?
No. The last question is, what would make you stop playing droids? And so I assume that was directed towards me, unless you've been playing droids recently, Cuenca.
No.
Yeah.
I do love. Oh, is maybe Afro droids? I don't know.
That's a good question because there are many new droids, right? Like,
I like droids. I really wish Afro was playable, but it just does seem that being able to focus down a character is super important right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Afro not the best at doing that.
That's fair. There's probably still something you could play with that though.
Yeah.
You would have to.
No, I mean, I that's one of the things. I was actually on late night gaming this past Friday, and I saw some of the power of that new plot.
Oh, the destroyer droid thing.
The bombs away. I forget that stuff. It was pretty interesting, and I could definitely see because I actually played an Afro deck as my first just like throwaway. And I was able to do really silly things. And I actually wasn't playing DM. I was playing, the other look at your hand, just so I could fix all my dice and do damage instead of I don't know if my DM's going to be good in every matchup. Right?
Yeah, face the enemy. Sweeper droid infiltration / demolition droid. Yeah, no, I kind of like that. It's a little rough because you have to do the event plus the permanent thing. So it can flip back between them. So you can get 2 indirect around off of it if you're doing it on the 3s. The 5 is actually just to get that extra 4 damage at some point during the game. And I think you could kind of deal without that. But it is an interesting concept in that regard. I do think there's probably something though. I don't think they have to go as gung ho into the draw engine, and just kind of make the rest of the deck be all right, I got some value from these droids and I did other things. But yeah, you have to push directly, and I think the dilemma is the healing is not super amazing for Afra. So the Afra IDT Sentinel Messenger, they're going straight after Imperial Death Trooper. They're going to kill him, and then that's it. Most of your damage is going to fall off from there. But I think you could definitely ramp fast enough to get stuff down to punish people. I think just people probably just aren't realistically trying to do that too heavily. You don't get access to counter intel. You probably still run DM as opposed to face the enemy. But if you went face the enemy, you could clear the path, jam a bunch of resources, hailfire into a bunch of crazy stuff. Hailfire has the discount, assassin droid, yada yada. So I don't think it's that bad to direct damage as you're stating, but it's also getting the correct cards and making the proper adjustments to cope with what we're seeing.
Yep.
But yeah, that was the last question. So I guess from there is any stuff you have to say for the audience?
I'm going to end on a joke.
Okay, you do it up. I have got nothing to say myself. Let's hear it.
Right.
This is the NJ Cuenca Hour.
It was you reminded me of it because it's a small deck. So
yeah.
And it's actually, I think it's PG enough, so that's good.
Well, I don't think we've ever been PG, so I think you're good either way.
Yeah. A genie goes into a bar and says to the bartender, "Hey, I'd like to order a drink, but I don't have any money. But I'm a genie and I can grant you one wish just as long as it has nothing to do with money." And bartender goes, "Okay, well, me and the missus have been having an issue recently. Sexually, we're not compatible. So, it's embarrassing. I don't really want to say it out loud." So he whispers to the genie, and then he's like, "Oh, I can definitely help you with that." Snaps his fingers. In the corner of the bar, there's a piano and someone's playing it. This little tiny person's playing the piano. He's a little person. It's about 2 feet big. And then the bartender looks at him and he's just like, I don't, that is not what I asked for. And then he was like, "Oh, you didn't wish for a 2-foot pianist?"
But and this is where we end on this note.
So yeah, thanks for watching. By the way, I don't actually remember the joke. There's actually probably a better joke, but I just freestyled that because I knew the pun. That's a terrible pun.
It's okay, and that's all that matters. This is the
Yeah,
NJ Cuenca stand-up.
I'm sure there's at least 2 people out there laughing, right?
Yeah. And this brings the end to the NJ Cuenca stand-up hour. Come back next week. We'll be here. Deuces.
Waka waka. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to show your support. If you want to become a patron, check out our Patreon. The link will be in the description. Thanks again.